Madam President,
The senator from Maryland.
I would ask consent that the quorum call be dispensed with.
Without objection.
Madam President, tonight, Jews in America and around the world will be celebrating the fourth night of Hanukkah. Hanukkah represents the successful revolt by the Maccabees against oppression on the Jewish community that dates back to the Second Temple, 2nd century BCE. So we have seen over a long history of the world attacks against the Jewish people and the unfortunate anti-Semitism that has existed since basically the beginning of time. What is shocking is the current increase in the number of anti-Semitic episodes that we've seen in speech and in action here in the United States and around the world. Let me bring it closer to home. Last Saturday in Montgomery County, Maryland, just a few miles from where we are, at the Walt Whitman High School, anti-Semitic graffiti was put on their walls. It was the second time in just over 1 month in Montgomery County that we've seen anti-Semitic type activities through graffiti. In mid-November on the trolley trail, a similar episode occurred. The number of episodes on a rise of anti-Semitism is shocking. The Anti-Defamation League has given us the numbers, a 61% increase between 2020 and 2021 in speech and attacks against Jewish institutions here and around the world. I have the privilege of being the special representative of the OSCE Parliamentary Assembly for Anti-Semitism, Racism, and Intolerance. I attended, on behalf of the United States, the Berlin Conference on Anti-Semitism in 2004. And there were many lessons learned from those conferences that we had. But the most important lesson we learned is that leaders must speak out and act against any form of anti-Semitism or any form of hate. It cannot be normalized. We've seen just the opposite from our leaders recently. Former President Trump, in a dinner he had in Mar-a-Lago with a known anti-Semite and a known white supremacist, and a photograph then later of a QAnon follower. This gives oxygen to hate. We need to strengthen our resolve to make sure that we will never allow this to be normalized. And we need to recognize that there is a direct link between the attacks on our democratic institutions and our rule of law and the rise of anti-Semitism and other forms of hate. Therefore, we all must speak out about disinformation and election deniers. We need to speak out against the conspiracy theorists who use theories such as the replacement theories, promoting old age anti-Semitic tropes. We know where that leads. It leads to violence. On November 29th of this year, I conducted, under the auspices of the OSCE Helsinki Commission, a roundtable discussion. I was pleased to be joined by our presiding officer, Senator Rosen, and I thank her for her extraordinary leadership with Senator Lankford in establishing the bipartisan and bicameral caucus in regards to fighting anti-Semitism. I was also joined by Senator Blumenthal and Congressman Vesey. We had representatives from the White House, from Department of Homeland Security, Department of State, Department of Justice, the Anti-Defamation League, the American Jewish Committee, and the U.S. Holocaust Memorial Museum. All were present as we talked about what we can do. That was followed up by a hearing at the Helsinki Commission last week on December 16th. Actually, this was just almost a week ago, in which we had Ambassador Deborah Lipstadt, our special envoy to monitor and combat anti-Semitism, and Rabbi Andrew Baker, who's the special representative of the Organization for Security and Cooperation in Europe on anti-Semitism. We all met again, a public forum as to what we should do. And I want to compliment the Biden administration. Doug Emhoff had a similar roundtable discussion with all the stakeholders. And out of all those meetings, one thing came abundantly clear. We need a government approach in fighting the rise of anti-Semitism. We need a coordinated strategy So, Madam President, I want to thank President Biden for his statement on December 12th, where he did set up an interagency group led by the domestic policy staff in order to develop a unified national strategy to combat anti-Semitism and all forms of hate. That came out of the recommendations that our presiding officer helped lead, all of us together to make that a reality. We need a unified national strategy. It must include education. And I am so proud of this body approving additional funds for Holocaust education. It's important. It's an important part. People need to understand their history so that we're not doomed to repeat the horrors of the past. It includes safety. Public safety is very important. It's a reality that we have to provide our communities with the security they need. These nonprofit security grants are critically important. I was glad to see again that we're going to act later today to provide the resources we need to help our religious institutions protect themselves against the threats that are out there today. We need to engage law enforcement with training and accurate data collection so we understand the problem and we can take steps to combat it. And yes, we need a coalition of all groups. We need to work together. As President Biden said when he set up the task force, that we need to coordinate U.S. government efforts to counter anti-Semitism, Islamophobia, and related forms of bias and discrimination within the United States. We need to work in coalition. I had a sidebar meeting in Luxembourg on one of the OSCE Parliamentary Assembly meetings on anti-Semitism, and it became loud and clear that if any minority group is in jeopardy, we're all in jeopardy. So we need to work together. I'm going to close by quoting from an op-ed written by Howard Liptick that ran in the Baltimore Sun on December 14th, which was entitled "Stemming the Rise of Anti-Semitism Once More." Mr. Liptick serves as the executive director of the Baltimore Jewish Council. So let me just quote some of what he's put in that op-ed. These days, the media commonly focuses on the normalization of anti-Semitism. Essentially, we are saying so many anti-Semitic comments and actions from leaders in politics, sports, entertainment, and social media is casually becoming part of our everyday conversation and debate. Immediate and universal condemnation used to be the norm when public figures or public debate crossed the line into anti-Semitism. That no longer seems to be the case, whether it's because of the overall coursing of our public debates or the relentless rise of anonymous social media, or simply the fact that there is fatigue from so many anti-Semitic comments seemingly everywhere. We can never normalize anti-Semitism. The editorial continues, but as leaders in our Jewish community here in Baltimore, I say that we must commit to fighting anti-Semitism on all fronts, from all political points of view, no matter how big or how small. The gap between rhetoric and action has always been frighteningly narrow, which is why strong and immediate condemnation from all corners of leadership must again be the norm. The narrow gap between words and violence is why we must shine the brightest light possible on anti-Semitism. Madam President, I urge my colleagues on both sides of the aisle and both sides of the Capitol to work with me, work with all of us, the Biden administration, our allies, our civil society partners, to loudly and decisively call out anti-Semitism wherever it manifests itself, and to work together in the whole society approach to combat and eradicate it from our society. On this Hanukkah, let us rededicate ourselves that there should be no place for hate in America, and that we'll fight anti-Semitism here and lead the international efforts against anti-Semitism. With that, Madam President, I yield the floor.